What's going on, DC? This is Nate. This is my third video. This video is going to be a little bit different than my other two where I just talked about some new stuff that I've gotten. This one I'm mostly going to be talking about stuff I've had for a while. Playing in the background is this record, Elvis Sun Sessions. This was released on RCA. This is actually released, this particular one I believe was released in the early 80s. Anybody who really likes Sun music or really likes Rockabilly or really likes Elvis, I think this is a good record. The first time I was really ever introduced to this kind of music was probably with the Stray Cats. My older brother John, who's also making videos, you should check him out, is JL Wing 77 on YouTube. He had a lot of different music, and he introduced me to a lot of music, and I don't know how old I was when I first heard of the Stray Cats, but I got this record, Built for Speed. It's, Rock This Town is on this. It's side one, track one. It's probably the #1 song that people that aren't really that familiar with the Stray Cats have heard. Also, this is one of my more recent pickups. This is 45 of the Stray Cats of Sexy and 17 and Looking Better Every Year. And because of the Stray Cats, I actually wanted to check out this group, which is Phantom Rocker and Slick, which is Slim Jim Phantom and Lee Rocker, who are in the Stray Cats. This is pretty different from the Stray Cats, but you can still kind of hear like a little bit of like a rockabilly flavor to it. I really fell in love with this music, like really got into it probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and I really started getting into like hot rods and rockabilly music and wanted to suck up anything from there that I really can. For me now, Elvis is one of my favorite artists. That's one of the reasons I picked it to play, and I really got into anything on Sun Records. I got this on CD a while ago, the $1 Million Quartet, which is Elvis, Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash actually isn't on this CD very much. It's mostly just Elvis, Jerry Lee, and Carl Perkins. It's pretty rough. It's really... they just kind of got together and more or less had a jam session, and somebody recorded it. This is available on vinyl. I just haven't seen it yet. I'd like to get it, just because I think it's cool, and I've seen that you can get a copy of it for somewhere between 10 and 20 bucks, except for this picture that's on the front that is actually colorized on the cover of a lot of the ones that they released in the 80s. It just depends on whether you really care about that or not. I don't. I really care more about the music. Well, in kind of like my quest for Sun stuff, you know, some of this is recent, some of this I've had for a little while, but I've got this record, which was actually an original Sun release. This is Johnny Cash, The Songs That Made Him Famous. This was originally released in 1958 as an LP. This one I found out recently. I think it was Jim Cook in the VC, who's from Memphis, where Sun Records is, and knows a lot about this kind of stuff, said because where it says electronically enhanced for reproduction on stereo phonographs at the top there, not sure if you can see it, it's kind of dark, but they started doing that, I believe he said in the 70s, which would make sense because the resale shop I got this at, a lot of the stuff that they had is actually from the 70s. Well, I think it's one person's private collection that's all been put on consignment at this place. I really like Johnny Cash. I just don't have a lot of stuff by Johnny Cash on that's really like the early rockabilly. I have a lot more of like the country stuff, like Folsom Prison Blues and stuff like that. I've also got this. It's Jerry Lee Lewis, Original Golden Hits Volume 1, and I've also got Volume 2 of that. I've heard there's a Volume 3, I haven't seen it yet, but it's something I want to track down. I really like Jerry Lee Lewis. I really like rockabilly and rock and roll, like the old rock and roll, just because it's kind of fun music. You know, I like a lot of other stuff that you can kind of just put on and vibe, but I usually put this stuff on because it puts me in a good mood. From that same consignment shop, about a week ago, I got this, Jerry Lee Lewis Duets. This is actually a special collector's edition that was on yellow vinyl, yellow with the Sun label on it. Somebody, I think again it was Jim Cook, was saying that he was telling me more about the story about Sam Phillips was the original producer, really the guy spearheading Sun Records, and he wasn't in charge of Sun Records when a lot of these ones in the 70s were put out, just kind of repackaging the old material. I'm also, really, this is kind of like the kingpin of my collection in a lot of ways. I got these mostly pretty cheap at several different places. These are real Sun 45s. This one is Jerry Lee Lewis, It'll Be Me, and a Whole Lot of Shaking Going On, which is one of my favorite Jerry Lee Lewis songs. It actually was his first big hit on Sun Records. This one, I believe, when I looked it up, is from '57. I've also got What Did I Say and Livin' Lovin' Wreck by Jerry Lee Lewis. What Did I Say was actually a song that Ray Charles did a lot and made it famous. And then this is actually probably his more famous song, Great Balls of Fire and You Win Again. You Win Again is actually a song by Hank Williams Sr. And I actually really like Jerry Lee Lewis's version. He does a lot of really good versions of Hank Williams songs. My brother Dave, his channel is DRUNO82 on YouTube. He has a Sun Records release, I believe it was from the 70s. It's Johnny Cash and Jerry Lee Lewis sing the songs of Hank Williams. See, and then these two records, Johnny Cash, 45s on Sun. This one is Guess Things Happen That Way and Train of Love is on one side, and the other side is The Ways of a Woman in Love and Next in Line. And this one is Home of the Blues and Big River, which are actually two of my favorite Johnny Cash songs released on Sun. And the other one is You're the Nearest Thing to Heaven and I Can't Help It. I actually recently, about a day or two ago, found out that both of these Johnny Cash EPs actually had a picture sleeve, which I would love to have if I could find it. Seeing as how it's, you know, almost 60 years old and it's a piece of paper, and most people that have the paper probably have the record, or if they didn't have the record, probably don't have the paper anymore. I'm not sure how easy it'll be for me to track down, but I'd love to get that if I could. I don't have, unfortunately, I don't have any Elvis on Sun because I don't have that kind of money. I got some RCA Elvis stuff though. Some of it's his later stuff, like In the Ghetto and Any Day Now. I believe this is from the 70s, early 70s. And Anything That's Part of You and Good Luck Charm. Good Luck Charm is one of his older ones. I love that song, but I almost hate listening to this record because whenever I do, I feel like I can't get it out of my head. This one is one of his other older ones. Any Way You Want Me, That's How I'll Be, and Love Me Tender. This was actually the first Elvis 45 I ever bought, and really one of the first 45s that I bought that really got me interested in buying 45s because I really like Elvis and really like this kind of music. And the last one I've got is Jailhouse Rock, which is another one of my favorite Elvis, early Elvis songs, and Treat Me Nice is the B-side. And then something else, I actually was trying to find, you know, somebody away from Sun Records, but it was another early rock and roll guy. It was Eddie Cochran. And I got this record. This is just the greatest hits. It's got a bunch of good stuff on it. Summertime Blues, Come On Everybody, 20 Flight Rock, Blue Suede Shoes, and Something Else. Something Else is actually one of my favorite Eddie Cochran songs. Really kind of hesitated on what to talk about because I wanted to maybe show off some of the stuff I got, but it's really, when I was making this video, all I could think of is, man, there's so much stuff that I don't have that I want to get. You know, I've got one Chuck Berry 45 that I can show you. That's School Days in Memphis. It's on Mercury. Not sure if this is the right sleeve, but it's a Mercury sleeve, so I put it in there. But the label's pretty beat, but the record itself is actually in pretty good shape. I'd like to get some more Chuck Berry. My dad had a Chuck Berry record growing up called Radio Days that pretty much is a greatest hits album. I'm not sure if that's still in print or how hard it is to find. It's just something I really should do some more research on. And somebody else that was early rock and roll on Sun Records I left out before, because this is just like a much later, I'm going to guess from probably the 70s release, by Roy Orbison, Running Scared and Blue Bayou. But I want to get some more Eddie Cochran. I'd like to get some more Chuck Berry. I'd like to get some Gene Vincent. I don't have any Gene Vincent. I'm a big Buddy Holly fan. I don't have any Buddy Holly. You know, but it's really just kind of part of like a whole thing I really got into, you know, with the rockabilly music and early rock and roll. Something else I'm trying to get is some Reverend Horton Heat, which is another thing I heard first when I was really young. It's more on like the psychobilly side, but he's got a lot of stuff that's really almost more like straight country or straight rockabilly. The album Spend a Night in a Box is pretty much just straight rockabilly music. And some of his older stuff is more like, you know, real psychobilly stuff. There's actually a record called The Full Custom Gospel Sounds of the Reverend Horton Heat I'd really like to get. I found out that there's a limited edition pressing from when it first came out in the early 90s. That was on red vinyl. I'd love to have it. But, you know, just talking about the music, it's really one of the first times, like, I really wanted to learn how to play something that I really like listening to. A lot of times I just put on music and just play it and enjoy it. But there's some things that I really enjoy playing. A lot of it was like the kind of acoustic music I talked about before that my dad played, but rockabilly is one of the first things I really have enjoyed both listening to and playing. I got this DVD. I really haven't had time to really use it. 50 Rockabilly Guitar Licks You Must Know. For anybody who's into this kind of music and plays guitar, you actually can find some of the individual lessons from this on YouTube. If you just type in 50 Rockabilly Guitar Licks You Must Know, there's a few of them on there. It's put out by a guy named Jason Laughlin. I'm not sure if you can see it. Again, it's dark, but it's Loughlin. I think it's pretty fun to play. I've worked on it a little bit, you know, but it's just, rockabilly music to me is just, it's a lot of fun. I have a bunch of stuff I can't show you physically because I don't have it, a physical copy, but care of my local library, I got it, like a bunch of Sun compilations. If somebody's interested in this kind of music, something I can highly recommend is a 3-disc set called Rockin' Bones, which is, I believe the tagline for it is Rockin' Bones, punk rock from the 50s or something like that. It's pretty good music. It's all from the 50s. There's a couple alternate versions of songs I'd never heard. Like there's a version of One Night With You by Elvis. The original version was called One Night of Sin, but the censors made them change it because it was just a little bit too over the line for the 50s, you know. But it's pretty good. You should check it out if you're into it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this one. You know, just kind of keeping it short. You know, try to hope you keep wanting to watch my videos, not get anything like too crazy lengthwise. But yeah, it's just something I'm really into. It's something I'd like to get a lot more music of. So that's pretty much all I got for this one. So again, peace, love, rock and roll, happy vinyl dream.